Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Three Stooges podcast. We're not the black and white version of the Three Stooges. We're the fresh, new, colorized version with a bearded exclamation point that is Georgeson of. Uh, I always bring up the beard, and Chris Jackson there in the middle with the Stooges next to him. We cover high school sports up and down the state, big on the Sac Joaquin section in this region. It's just something we like to do. We talk about topics of interest, coaches coming and going, controversies, appeals, things like that. We got all kinds of stuff. We're going to talk about Sac Joaquin baseball playoffs, the Sac Joaquin section softball playoffs start. We'll have, I went on a tour for the new basketball arena of sorts at Sacramento State with Mike Bibby. We'll talk about that a little bit. George is going to talk about a terrific multi-sport athlete up in Placer County, Baylor Kelly, and what he's all about. But first, let's go right to um, Chris Jackson. Tell us about Troy Bowens, who he's, where he is, and why he's such a refreshing story that you can be a big man on a small school, on a small football team, and have big time offers. And we're going to start with that. And it's a feel good story, but there's some wrinkles of discord. And, geez, we have high school recruiting going on. No, not never, right? But tell us about Troy Bounds because you just wrote a piece on him for West Coast Press.
Hope
West Coast
everyone,
Press.
I hope everyone can bear with me for a few minutes because I've got a lot of notes on this and why small schools can ball too and why small schools have guys as well, right? But Troy Bowens, a four-star edge rusher at Sutter High School, just finished his sophomore year. He was all Sacramento by us. I'm fairly certain he was all Metro by Joe and the great stuff they do at the Bee. But this is a kid that's 6'5", 252, plays at Sutter High School, right? Great history, great tradition of sports, but their enrollment 768, right? So considered a small school, a lot smaller than a lot of the big time powerhouses that you think of. This kid, though, he's got 10 Division I offers. He's got Arizona State, Cal, Minnesota, Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, Oregon are just some of those few in there as well. Number 191 prospect overall by 247, a four-star there. The number two rated player in this section for the 2027 class, only behind, guess who? Zoe Edwards, the 6'6 tight end receiver, do-it-all guy from Grant High School, the state champion. He's a four-star by On3 as well. But he is a great case of you don't have to go to one of the big schools. You don't have to go to a big private school like Mater Dei or St. John Bosco to get recruited. Yes, does going to those schools help in some ways? Of course. I would be negligent, weird not to acknowledge that, right? Because of the amount of prospects they have, like a Kirby Smart's going to go visit a Folsom because of all they've got, like a Jamison Powell, Ryder Lyons, Vlad Diakonov. I mean, just up and down the list. But if you're big enough, strong enough, good enough, great film, you've got the intangibles, and you go to these college camps, you're going to get your eyes in front of coaches and you're going to get recruited. Troy Bones is the perfect example because, like I mentioned, 6'5, 252. His film is tremendous. You can't teach what he's got either. He wore one of those catapult wearable vests. You see like the miles per hour in college games, pro games. During rainy conditions at Castle Roble, 17.77 miles per hour. And that's for a kid of his size as a sophomore in rainy conditions when that turf was for sure slippery and tough to run on. Here's what he said. I literally just asked, do you have to go to a big school to be recruited? And what do you think of that notion? His exact quote to me, I was at their spring practice last week. That's not true at all. Sutter's a very small school, only about 700 kids. But if you get great film and show what you can do, that's really all coaches care about. And it shows, right? Yes, the big school's got the guys like Folsom High School. They've got a great staff that's got Scott Robeson, who is strictly dedicated to college recruiting. That is great. You've got Sutter High School, that was a school that does a great job pumping its kids out too. Ryan Reynolds, his staff, they send out prospect sheets, film, tour colleges, get coaches out there. That's the name of the game. A great high school with great coaches, coaches that care, are dedicated to getting you at the next level. That's why Sutter's had kids go to the next level because it's a great program. Great players come through there. Look at what they've done. They've had D1 kids. They had a linebacker this year, Mason Cartwright, who was about 6'3", 220, 230. He ended up going junior college for at least the next year, but he had Division I schools inquiring him, and he's got the size, right? College coaches knew about him. They asked about him. They inquired about him. Sutter's one of those great schools that has it. And if you go up and down Northern California, these small schools have it, right? Like Casa Roble, who was just there this past year, Elijah Huddle, now at Sacramento State, who was there before, Colognes, who is UC Davis, who they have last year as well, Suni Avuki, who's now at Folsom, but he already had Division One offers before he ever moved to Folsom, and those offers before then were Arkansas, Sacramento State. Go down to Houston in this section. Four-star Robert McDaniel, who went to UCLA, now it's San Jose State. His brother's a three-star Division One prospect as a receiver. 6'3" kid. Max Mankins was another three-star. Now he's going prep school for a year, but that wasn't because of the school he went to. The size of the school is because he pulled out of his Air Force commitment really late in the process. And with the portal, everything else, it just made more sense for him to go prep school for a year. But Houston alone, all these 3 and 4 stars. Wheatland High School is now getting kids to the next level as well. They're getting kids with offers, visits, and they've got a staff with Earl Mannion, the recruiting coordinator, who's done a great job on social media pumping kids out. And you look at them, you look at Sacramento High School, whose enrollment is 354, but they had Kendall Hearn go D1. Lamar Radcliffe went D1. There's the younger Radcliffe. You got Cordell Radcliffe, just had a great freshman year at running back, offered by Sacramento State. If you go out to the Bay Area, St. Vincent de Paul, who kind of kicked Houston's butt in that NorCal championship game. The 2026 class alone has 4 3-star kids, including the 3-star quarterback. This past 2025 class, 2 3-stars. One, Robert Rooks, now going to Rice. 3-star Ty Nickens, who was going to Sacramento State. San Marin. They've been a state champion in the past, multiple times. They had a quarterback, Dominic Garcia, who's now at Cal. There's another quarterback there right now, Daniel Rolovich, the son of, yes, Nick Rolovich, who coached at Washington State. His son is committed to play Division One football. He's a 3-star, and they had a running back a few years ago, Justin Gwynn, who ended up at Fresno State after running for some ridiculous number of well over 2,000 yards. And then Jordan's own backyard, Placer High School. They had a 5-star there. Goes well. So if you're good enough, coaches will find you. It's all about, do you have the right coaches? Are you at the right program? Are you getting good film? Are you putting your name out there? You're not just going to get a job by not sending out the resume. Just like these kids, they put their name out in front of coaches, they send out their film everywhere else, and they get these opportunities. And Troy Bowens, I know it was a long-winded answer, but he is the perfect example of why you don't have to transfer, move anywhere else. There were kids from other schools. There weren't any high school coaches technically that were found of recruiting, but you know the way kids are. They talk, they want to play with each other. Some kids try to get Troy Bowens to move to their school. He said it kind of pissed him off.
Which is odd because a coach can't do that. Boosters have. I don't think it's very ethical, but it's interesting and not surprising that players will try to recruit a player because they know each other on social media and all that. But there's something to be said about loyalty. If he's happy in at Sutter with the Huskies, there you go. And Jordan, I'm going to turn to you real quick. And high school kids do try to recruit each other. Hey, come this way and all. It's easier said than done. What is he going to do? Commute every day? Is he going to move in somewhere? And taking a look at our Sacramento Bee All Metro football team, and we had a guy, Robert Meyer, a kicker punter from Colfax High School, which is even smaller than Sutter, and he's one of the best kickers in America. And he got a full scholarship to Missouri of the SEC of the Southeastern Conference. And that's rare, Jordan, because a lot of kickers don't get scholarships. They get walk-ons unless you're big time. So the point being, the theme for today's show is if you got big time game and you're on a small time campus, that's all you need. That's all you need. And Jordan, I'm turning to you on that and comment on that, but also talk about Baylor Kelly, who does everything right. Good student, good leader for the Placer Hillman, versatile in football, excellent in track, but not everybody gets scholarship. Doesn't mean he's not good. It's just a talented, deep talent pool.
Absolutely. Baylor Kelly is a kid that I have pounded the table for a long time on this podcast, as long as you guys have known me. This kid's a 3-year varsity player, and you can see it in him. This kid has Division I talent, but I'll say he's not the biggest kid out there, but that doesn't mean this kid doesn't have talent, doesn't have heart, doesn't have speed, strength, everything like that. I think he's going to be a case of if you're good enough, you're going to get noticed. Not everyone can get these great Division I offers out of high school. I mean, Placer's produced great D1 talents like an Eddie Vanderdoes that was a 5-star. Ivan Da Silva signed on with Air Force from this year's team. Baylor Kelly actually first caught my eye. I was covering a Placer game when he was a freshman on the JV team, and he was their quarterback. And running the wing T, the quarterback runs the ball a lot, and I'm watching it, and he was actually going head to head with Mason Susnara, I believe, at Roseville, if I remember correctly. And I remember watching, going, "Oh my gosh, this kid is unbelievable, this quarterback." Like, he really stood out to me. And then lo and behold, he ends up there running back, Swiss Army knife, slot receiver, safety, jack of all trades type of kid. But the reason I did a story on him recently is because of what he's done in track and field. Baylor, if you know the history of Placer High School, they opened up in 1897. So, if you were born at the end of the Civil War, you were 32 when Placer High School opened up. That's how long they've been running track here. And Baylor Kelly holds the school record in the 110 meter, 300 meter, and 400 meter, or 110 meter and 300 meter hurdles, and the 400 meter hurdle, actually. Sorry. He won the FBL title in the 110 and 300 meter hurdles, placed second in the 400 meter hurdles, won boys MVP, and is like within a half a second of qualifying for the national championship meet as a automatic qualifier with his fastest time this year. He's going to be going to American River next year, where he's going to run football or play football and run track. I think this is a steal for American River. Joe, you've seen American River over the years. You know how good the football is there. They landed Braden Ward too, so probably the two best offensive football players in the FVL are going to be kind of both weapons for American River next year. But how many times have we seen guys go to American River and just light it up in 1 year and already end up with a scholarship? And maybe they didn't get it because they were at a small high school, or maybe they didn't get it because of today's recruiting era, where they're just not offering guys out of high school anymore unless you are a generational talent like we have up at Sutter, like we have at Folsom or Casa, or some of this stuff. But I mean, these kids can play, and I think this is going to be a case of, if you're good enough, you're going to get noticed. Baylor Kelly, just a great kid too. I love his mentality when he runs. I asked him about it, and he goes, it's a Ricky Bobby quote. He says, "I'm either going to be first place or last place. I'm going to sprint the whole thing, and if I burn out, then I burn out, but I don't see the point in holding anything in. It's one race, so you might as well sprint the whole thing." I mean, go big or go home, right? How do you not love that mentality? A great kid too. And what I love about him, and maybe this is his dad kind of hammering it into him, because his dad is the offensive line coach at Placer. But one of the first things he would do in every interview, and Chris, I'm sure you've heard it, and Joe, I'm sure you've heard it, he would thank his offensive line and say, "I wouldn't be anything without the holes these guys are opening up." And he would thank, the other running backs in the backfield with him, saying, if they weren't setting up some of these plays, or if it's kind of the yin and the yang of the bruiser versus the speed guy, if they weren't helping set this up, he wouldn't be able to do what he can do. So a humble kid, a great kid. I'm sure going to miss covering him in high school, but I'm glad he's staying local. And probably, I think it's safe to say, one of the best athletes we've seen in this area in the last couple of years. And probably, I would say, when it's all said and done, probably can go down as one of the better athletes that Placer has ever had in their time, especially since the turn of the century. I know they've had great football success, but this kid's numbers don't lie, and what he can do in every single sport that he tries.
This is a kid that I have no doubt is going to go to the next level. He's got the talent, the skill set. And Jordan, Division I schools recruited him. They inquired about him. There was a school in the Mountain West that inquired about him as well, right? So a lot of it, if you look at these college boards, they're huge. They're trying to fit certain measurables, tangibles, age. Do they have to hit the portal at a certain position too? None of his recruiting was because of where he goes. One of his teammates was 6'6", 260. He's going to Air Force, like Jordan mentioned, Ivan DeSoto. Baylor Kelly is a kid, a year of development, even more so at the collegiate level, and after this junior college level, I should say, and after what he's doing in track. Heck, we could see him after 1 year jumping up to the D1 level.
Wouldn't be shocked at all.
Well, there's something to be said about versatility, talent, skill, and good point about American River College football. They also got Dallas Munn, the Destiny Christian quarterback, who's got certainly a great arm, and it's all about opportunities. And talking about spring football, Sierra College and the Wolverines of Placer County have a spring football game Friday night at 6 p.m. on their cozy, cool little stadium. So spring football and JC football, yes, it's a new thing the last couple of years. It's still mindful on safety, but it's a great evaluation tool because JC football is big time. We've talked about that on this program. We've talked about it off the air. We do group texts and how important junior colleges are. And with the transfer portal now, the junior colleges stand to really benefit because not everybody's going to be able to land. You look at Sacramento State football brought in 50 guys to the transfer portal, and they may bring up to 30 more. As rosters get up to 105 players now, and so it's a rat race and it's a scramble. On the topic of track and field, Chris Jackson, back to you, sir. Who are some other movers and shakers and jumpers and sprinters and distance greats and guys who throw their weights around? Who are some others to look for as we barrel into the postseason of track and field as well?
Yeah, I literally just booked my hotel for the state meet in Clovis in 2.5 weeks. So to say that I'm not excited, to say I am excited, I should say, is a vast understatement. We've got this section alone's got state ranked athletes and boys and girls, and I'll go through those that are ranked in the top 10 of the state and who you've really got to look for. Boys, right here at Elk Grove High School, Cy Lugo, 200-meter dash, number 10 in the state. 21.19 seconds of the Sacramento Bee champions. The 800, two sophomores. One is Lucas Alberts of Jesuit, number 6 in the state. Number 7, Hugh Heyer of McClatchy is number 7. Go right back to the 3200 out of Jesuit. Isaac Abbott, 8:57.47 at the Dublin Distance Festival. He is top 10 in the state. The 4x800, Jesuits also got a group that is got the 3rd best time in the state. The shot put, Elliot Traxler from Amador High School. He's also number 6 in the discus. He's number 8 in the shot put. And Dixon High School has the number 2 shot putter in the state at 61.10.5. The high jump. This section, a great basketball player, Quentin Mitchell out of Antelope High School. Anytime you saw him in the fast break, you knew that a wild, wild dunk that you could argue might actually win the NBA dunk contest nowadays. That's how freakish of an athlete he is. Just high jump 7 feet, which is number 1 in the state. He's actually going to stay home and go to Sacramento State for college, but he's number 1 in the high jump. Marcus Medowski of Ripon hits 6'9". He's number 5 in Narayan Banerjee from Jesuit, 6'9" at the SFL finals, which is also 5th in the state. And the pole vault wraps it up for boys. Jack Merrick of Granite Bay is 3rd in the state. And you go to girls, the 100-meter dash is just filled with them. One of them, Jordan, I'll let you get to her in a minute, but Allie Winston of 12 Bridges, number 10 in the state, 11.65 seconds. Vanden's got the number 4 girl in the state, the 100. Niazra Sizemore, who is also number 3 in the state in the 200. The 110 hurdles has a girl out of Ripon, Starla Skiles, 14.2 seconds. So she can freaking move. The 4x400, number 8, is 12 Bridges, right? And that's got Allie Winston on that team. 4x800 relay, Whitney is number 9. In the shot put out at Del Campo at Fair Oaks is Sanala Hatcher is number 4 in the state in the shot put at 43.10.5. So these are some names you're going to want to gloss over. And as we get to sections masters meet, I'm sure some of these kids will PR. Some other kids are going to come up and vault their names into the state ranked times because usually the year goes on and some of these meets, especially the sprints, hotter it gets out, better some of those times go as well. But got some number 1 kids, and the one you have to look for is Quentin Mitchell out of Antelope. Being number 1 in the state in high jumping 7 feet is a rare, rare feat to heat. And I haven't seen a kid high jump like that since Cal High School of San Ramon when I was in high school. Noel Frazier, I think, hit 7 feet as well before going to jump in college.
Wow, that's good stuff. That's and these times are interesting. The pressure cooker's on down in the state meet down in Buchanan High School in the central section of Fresno. Great weather always helps. And why don't we have more sprint champions in Sacramento over the decades in state track and field? Because the Southern California teams clean up and they're great in the distances and the throws and the relays and they're great in basketball and football and all that. We've talked about that. That's because I have so many more schools down there and more enrollment. But we've had guys who have come through before. Jesuit won a state team championship in track and field some 10 years ago. They just won the state Division II team title in cross country. Walt Lang, their all-time great coach, been involved in track and field and cross country at Jesuit High School for some 50 years. So really good. But Jordan, back to you, sir. Tell us about the 12 Bridges, the Raging Rhino Winston, who is doing great things. Her father was a great student athlete years ago. He's super proud. So she's on the fast track, literally.
Oh yeah, Allie Winston is. I mean, I was telling someone when I covered the FVL trials last week, she's hard to photograph because by the time my camera focuses on her, she's already out of focus because she's moving so fast. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I know that, people will joke with 12 Bridges being a new school that, oh, when someone breaks a school record, it's only 3 years old or something like that. Well, Allie Winston is littered on their school's record books right now. And some of these records that she's breaking are not going to be broken for a long time. She's an incredible sprinter. She's going to UNLV next season to run there. I mean, if you look at this, she's got their 100 meters right now. Last year in the PVL final, she ran 11.61. 200 meters, she has the school record as well, 24.25 in that. She's got the 300-meter record at 41 seconds, the 400-meter record at 57 seconds. I mean, she's unbelievable. Her dad is her sprint coach, a great guy, awesome guy to talk to. Really helps her out a lot with it. But what's most impressive about her is a lot of times when you see these sprinters, you see a lot of runners that are good at these 100 meters, good at the 200, but, maybe they kind of peter out in that 400 range or, peter out when they get into those distances. The fact that she's still just as good running the 400 and running, these longer ones is a testament to her because that's her versatility right there. The fact that she's running these relays too. I mean, when you do the math, she's probably almost running a mile of sprints in each track meet. I mean, it's incredible the way you look at it. I mean, her stats say enough for herself. She's the anchor on almost every single relay team they're running on. 12 Bridges placed second in the FVL in both boys and girls, and she was a big part of it for girls. I think she claimed she was a part of 3 or 4 league titles this last week. I think the number, like Chris said, top 10 100-meter in the state, and I think one of the top in NorCal, I think top 2. I mean, I expect her to be someone to be making noise down in Clovis and a name that probably is going to be making some noise at UNLV and, showcasing what she can do. Just incredible sprinter. Her work ethic is fantastic and one of the great athletes in this area and one of the great athletes probably that's going to come through 12 Bridges for a long time.
Yeah, and that's something. And Um, we've talked about this 12 Bridges. We might have some listeners or viewers thinking, what is that school? That's the newer school up in Placer County, Raging Rhinos, great mascot. Old school Lincoln right there nearby has another great old mascot, the Zebra. So doing great things in quick order as a new school. Football success and baseball's had success and basketball's had success and here's young Winston burning up the track, having success, getting a scholarship and things like that. And so, no, that's really good. So, okay, I'm going to set up both of you guys here. We're going to talk in a moment about section baseball, what some of the series are, some of the things going on. But if you guys want to call up your brackets for softball, why don't we do like we did last week? We'll go with you, Chris Jackson first. Pick 2 or 3 teams in softball Division One that are worthy of watching, the no-brainers, maybe a dark horse. And then Jordan, I'll throw over to you for Division Two, and then Chris back to Division Three. We'll just go back and name drop and what's going on and what's all that happening there. And the softball playoff started this week. Del Oro Golden Eagles, state ranked #1 by Cal High, are good friends there. Power at the plate, 1-2 pitching combo. That's a team to look for in Division One, certainly Chris Jackson, but it's not the only team to look for in Division One.
Yeah, the #2 seed is Oak Ridge. Defending champions. They're the defending champs for a reason. Won this thing last year. They're a loaded team as well. Numerous Division One commits. Brooklyn Parator going to Washington. She's got a lot of power. Their shortstop, Carly Short. NC State. Carmen Montez de Oca. NC State, their pitcher, Ellison Schroeder, is a Santa Clara signee, and she is an ace through and through. They won't have Kennedy Freeland this postseason. She's out for the year with injury, a superstar, terrific sophomore. Obviously, those top 2, Oak Ridge and Del Oro, you should know about. But other teams I'm looking at in this bracket, Tracy has just been unstoppable. Now 26-2, cruise through their league, have some big wins. they've got a couple of great pitchers. Elisa Galley, Hayden Fellows, a sophomore, who's also got a lot of power. You've got a Cal commit, Emily Cargill, who's having big game after big game. Tracy's a 3 seed. And kind of looking at this bracket, you could get a Tracy Oak Ridge semifinals up in El Dorado Hills. That could be a lot of fun. But when you talk about and think about great pitching as well, the 4 seed Pleasant Grove has that. Madeline Lawson is an ace, a superstar. She can hit, she can pitch. They just finished this year really strong in the regular season, right? Beating Elk Grove, beating the Sheldon to now tie for that league crown, a great 4 seed. And there's a potential rematch in those quarterfinals against Sheldon, the 5 seed, who's got Micah Kennedy, a sophomore, a junior, and Quincy Brown, who is a Kentucky commit on the mounds as well. So those are some teams you've got to think can make some noise, make a run, maybe pull off a quote unquote upset or two in this bracket and potentially be playing at Sac State there on May 24th.
Love that. So Jordan, setting up Division Two, we have a distinct Sierra Foothill League flavor with some top seeds, a lot of Placer County teams, but who are you liking there as the heavyweights, and who do you expect to see in the finals?
I mean, it's hard to not go with the defending champs in this. Rockland, they won it all last year as a 7 seed. I think they still had a losing record when they won the section title. I coined that team the Thunderdogs because I not only did they come out and win that with a losing record, but I want to say they beat 2 or 3 teams they beat or they lost to during the regular season. They had to come from behind in that wild championship game where Sydney Barker hit one that I still think might have not landed at Sac State, clear over the scoreboard. They're the top seed. A scary team in that one. Whitney, a team that really found its own and has been a great program, had some unfortunate circumstances end their season last year when they had to forfeit the NorCal semifinal due to an ineligible player that was used in the first round or second round of the section playoffs in a blowout game that came in as like a pinch runner at the very end or something like that. That's a team that's got chip on their shoulder and a young team too. That's what's scary about them is, yeah, they've got Tylee Kitchen and Alyssa Flint manning the left side of the infield, both D1 commits, but I mean, a lot of their talent is young. I mean, Taylor Cordell, a freshman, has really emerged as one of the best pitchers in this section. They have Hannah Duncan, the younger Duncan sister. I'm blanking on her first name right now. But Hannah was a great pitcher for them off at Fresno State. Now the younger Duncan sister making some moves over there. A couple teams that are scary in this division for me, though. Elk Grove at a 5 seed. That is a program that can make some noise in here. Wood Creek at a 3 could really make some noise. And then Granite Bay is a 7. Granite Bay has a win over Rockland this year. So that's a 7 seed that I wouldn't be shocked to see make a noise. Can the 7 seed win it 2 years in a row? I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. No SFL win is going to be close, but if I'm picking, I know it's boring to say the top 2 seeds, but how can you not be pulling for a crosstown rivalry game in the championship? I think Rockland Whitney feels like the game, and I'll give the nod to Whitney this time. I think Whitney has got a little chip on their shoulder over what happened last season, and Rockland got the best of them this year in their matchups, but I think Whitney is finding their stride at the right time, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them make a run and win a section title at the end of this.
About that. It's just so good. And kudos to Sacramento State for hosting. Been a good venue there. Some of the other rounds, I believe, are Costumnes River College. You can't get them all at Sac State, but softball in the Sac Joaquin section just rages on. All the names that we've dropped in the last couple of weeks or this season on this podcast, a lot of scholarship players, including in Division Three. Chris Jackson, back to you. Who are a couple of teams to look for and sizing up, and what do you see?
Central Catholic's the top seed, and they're the top seed for a reason. They've been just cruising through the competition lately, and they're bats. As a team, 32 combined home runs at the forefront. Jazz Marie Roberts, Arizona State commit, hitting 505, 16 doubles, 8 home runs, another 4 triples, 52 RBIs. You've got Maddie Harrison, a Sac State committed junior, 7 home runs, 10 doubles, 33 RBIs. Samantha Nichols, a sophomore, 7 home runs, 6 doubles, 5 triples, 41 RBIs. So if you're getting the gist there, they've got a lot of power. They score a lot, and they're the number 1 seed for a reason in this bracket. But the number 2 seed, Vanden, has been on a cooker recently too. 17-4, 13 straight wins. Shared that Monticello Empire League title with Vacaville and Pioneer, two teams that they beat in the second half of the season, and kind of handily too. Beat Pioneer 8-1 on April 9th, Vacaville 9-4 2 days later on April 11th. But this is a group that is hot, playing with a lot of confidence. Maya Evans, a senior hitter, has been tremendous. They've got a freshman as well. Leads the team in hits, tied for the lead in RBIs. And then Niali Calvo is a sophomore who's hitting a ridiculous 694, 13 doubles, 3 home runs. This is a bracket you have to look at. I think the top two seeds are kind of on that collision course to meet in the championship. But a sleeper, the Oakdale Mustangs, the 5 seed. Jalen Lee, University of Pacific bound, a pitcher. She's got 11 wins on the mound this year, 102 strikeouts. She's a girl with a lot of confidence, a lot of talent. And anytime you've got a pitcher like that this time of year, and some of the wins they've got recently over Manteca, Grigori played. They played Vacaville recently. They beat Elk Grove as well last month. That's a team that could make some noise and kind of make a run here as that 5 seed. And there's looking like a rematch with Manteca there if it all goes according to plan for these teams on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, this is all good stuff, and all the brackets are on the Sac Joaquin Section CIF site. If you want to see brackets, ticket information, all those kind of things, home games, 4 o'clock home starts, and all that. Jordan, sir, back to you. Size up what you've seen so far in baseball, Sac Joaquin Section baseball playoffs. We are in the semifinal round, which is the best of three. We're the only state in California that has any kind of tournament type, where it's not single elimination. So one thing that certainly looks intriguing is a Sierra Foothill League Rumble rematch of sorts with the Del Oro Golden Eagles of Loomis and the Jesuit Marauders. That's in Division Two. But what are a couple of showdowns you're looking forward to?
I mean, that game two of Jesuit Del Oro today is going to be a great one. Game one looked like it was going to be a blowout and turned into a great game. Del Oro was up 10-2 going into the bottom of the 7th inning, just running through Jesuit. Jesuit scored 6 runs, and they were maybe 3 feet tops from tying it with a 2-run homer at the end of the game. Goes foul for a long strike 2, and then next pitch is strike 3 for the 3rd out. But we'll see if Jesuit can take that momentum with them into this game 2 now as the series comes back to Loomis. I think people look at Del Oro as a 5 seed, but remember, this is a 5 seed that had to forfeit 9 games and would have been the 1 seed if not. Chris, you and I have talked about it, but they really believe this is the best team in the history of that school. And I mean, I can't think of a team that's been better at Del Oro in terms of what they have talent-wise. They have some alum on the coaching staff that believe this might be the best team in the history of that school. I mean, they beat Wood Creek in the postseason. They already have a game against Jesuit. They just need to win one of the next 2 in order to get that series. Rodriguez has stormed onto the scene. They upset Whitney 13-6. They take game 1 on the road against Lodi in Division 2. So I think that's a team that could be making some noise. Some of the showdowns we're looking forward to. Rockland Franklin, is that a series where can Franklin sweep them? It's hard to believe either of those teams can sweep the other. It feels like a series that would go 3, but baseball's a weird sport and anything can happen. St. Mary's Davis, a sneaky good semifinal matchup as well in Division One. St. Mary's with a 1-0 lead there. Some of the earlier matchups that I saw in these playoffs to open up, Sierra of Manteca, I watched them hold Placer to 1 hit and pull an 11-6 seed line upset, beating Placer 8-0. I was impressed with that. I wasn't necessarily shocked that Sierra won that game, especially because they took a series from Central Catholic, but to win that game the way they did was impressive. How about Del Campo barely hanging on to beat Center and then going to Sutter and winning that one? That one gives a shout out. Roseville looks like they're on a roll right now. They beat up on Sierra pretty good in that quarterfinal, took a game from Oakdale, and then even down in Division 6, this is where I was at on Thursday last week, but Colfax, I watched them go down 5-1 to Ripon Christian. Look like, okay, this might be where the road ends. They score 12 unanswered runs over the next 2 innings, 3 innings, end up run ruling Ripon Christian, winning that 17-7. They fell in the first game to Woodland Christian, but Colfax, this is a team that was a regular in the section semis and the section championship. I know they ran into a couple buzzsaw Bradshaw Christian teams. I think they won a couple right before the pandemic. They were projected to be one of the top seeds during those pandemic seasons, didn't fall off. And then last year, just injuries really crushed that team and they missed the playoffs completely in year one under coach James McCabe. They're already back in the semifinals and earned a 3 seed. The game I'll be at today, I'm making the trip down to Amador to watch Bear River potentially close out that series. They won game one, 8-0 over the Buffaloes. Now the series goes to Sutter Creek. Bear River's looking for their first section title appearance since 2019. And the one thing we always talk about how great the sports are in this area, but what I love too is the baseball in this area feels like it's good from Division 1 down to Division 7, and not a lot of sports get that luxury. But I mean, out here, Bear River's got a Cal Poly bound ace. I mean, Colfax has a couple kids. Luke Tanini that is going to be playing at American River next season, but I wouldn't be shocked if that kid ends up at a D1 school in football or baseball when it's all said and done. So we have great athletes from the top to the bottom in this division.
Well, we also have that like Valley Christian with Brad Gunter Jr. The beard he's got. Well, he doesn't have the beard as much anymore. I always told him he was more respectable when he had a beard. He rolled with it, but he's had a player Cordell who's made the big leagues, and that's as small as you can get. So, Chris Jackson, any other playoff games that have caught your attention? What you might be checking out, what to look for, upsets, stat marvels, anything of note?
I'll be at Franklin this afternoon. I remember being at the rematch for actually game 2 last year with Jordan there as well in that crazy game where it was Nick Abraham making the start for Franklin. And look what he's doing now at Tennessee, a ranked team. But the one I've really kind of had my eyes caught on is Oakmont Central Catholic, a rematch, right? They've played each other many times in the postseason. Central Catholic's coach, Danny Ayala, walks down the third baseline to the Oakmont coaches. He's like, anytime I see you guys, I know it's been a good year, right? So both programs are there. Central Catholic won a crazy one in extra innings in game 1, 3-1. They had a pitcher, a sophomore, Kane Walker, his second ever varsity start. They entrusted him in that spot, pitched the lights out. But there was a controversial balk call there in the 8th inning. You try the fake pickoff, the first baseman dives. You think that maybe that can get the runner to kind of be caught off guard. Umpire calls it a balk. Yes, was Oakmont disappointed in the call? Yes, but after the game, Paul Martinez, the legendary head coach there at Oakmont, always all class, said the blame is on themselves for losing that game, not umpires, not one call. They had chances to win that game in the 6th inning, 7th inning, heck, even in the bottom of the 8th to maybe tie that ball game, and those runs just did not come through. But Oakmont now has still got Trevor Wilson, a Sac State commit to throw on the mound, and Hawaii Pacific bound Jalen Patterson to throw on the mound. And Oakmont's the defending champs for a reason, defending NorCal champs as well. It's hard to see the Vikings go down, especially in 2 games with that coaching staff, the way they play baseball, the arms, and the way this group's come up together for 4 years, and some of them playing together even longer.
Yeah, no, it's such good baseball and such good baseball coaches. We talk about guys like Brian Kilby of the Franklin Wildcats of the Oak Grove Unified. We think about his leadership and his impact and his personality. Well, there's a big reason he's the activities director at one of the largest schools in the section because people respond to him. And he has been known to power nap on a cot overnight. Then he got married, so that he had to balance his life there. But these guys are lifers. We've seen it. Granite Bay, Pat Esposito is a lifer. He's the only head varsity baseball coach in the history of the school, and the school opened in '96 or so in Placer County. So kudos to those guys. So I took a tour on Monday, the other day, to check out the Sacramento State's. I'm sorry, on Friday to check out Sacramento State's new pavilion, and with Coach Mike Bibby, the former Sacramento Kings guard, President Luke Wood, athletic director um, Mark Orr, and then also Corbin Martin, the project manager of Auto Construction. This is going to be a sweet venue. It's going to be 3,200 seats. They're going to have these new scoreboards. They've got a new floor down. It's all covered with plyboard, so it's not getting damaged. I did a big story for the Sacramento Bee. It's online. We had a videographer, photographer, our ace, Hector Amezcua. Why are we talking about this as a high school show? Because local college sports matter, and our Sacramento Bee Player of the Year, and a standout that we all know, Mark Lavinrod, is on that roster. He is. They have. There are no holdover players from last year. They're all cleaned out. Transfer portal. They're going to try to do something big, and we'll see. I just think it's good for this area. And I was asking Mark Orr and President Luke Wood, I said, have you talked to the CIF, the governing body for high school sports, about using this venue for some playoff games, section playoff games or smaller divisions or anything? And their eyes kind of perked up and said, hey, we should look into that. I mean, softball's being hosted out there, section softball. So, um, just all kinds of possibilities. So that's really cool. Sacramento State football remains cool because of what they're doing. And I just saw, and Coach Brendan Marion yesterday texted me that he got a nice transfer portal addition. I think this is a 51st person, but Dylan Gooden of the Maryland Terrapins is now with Sacramento State via the transfer portal. He's a linebacker. Gooden is an interesting last name if you think baseball, because his father is Doc Gooden, formerly of the New York Mets, Cy Young winner, 1986 World Series champs. But don't know if this guy could throw a fastball, but if he could lay guys out in the backfield, that's pretty cool. But they're bringing in guys right and left. Exciting time, high school, exciting times over at Sac, exciting at UC Davis, exciting times with the local JCs. I've been here forever, guys, more than 30 years. I've never seen it all this good all at the same time, including what Jordan just touched on. We have teams at the highest largest enrollment, Division I down to Division 7, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, softball. It's never been deeper. And people will say, oh, there's so much growth around here, it's probably thinned out all the talent. No, it's added the talent. And because one thing I don't like hearing is, oh, just think if all those other high schools in Elk Grove didn't open, and imagine how great Elk Grove High School Thundering Herd would be. I said, well, that's just unrealistic. They'd have 9,000 students or 12,000 students because all the other schools have 2,500. So it doesn't water it down, it's added to it. So it's really, really kind of cool to see what's going on.
Absolutely. I say all the time that, this area is just going to keep getting better too as it keeps growing. And I mean, it's shown time in, time out. I mean, how many times have we seen teams where I'm like, this looks like they have a generational player, but there's a more generational team in your same league sometimes. I mean, it's crazy. I think some of these teams where I'm like, this team would have been a section title team 3 years ago, but the talent in this area now, it's getting better and better.
It's just terrific. And Chris Jackson, you've been all over the country. You're a West Virginia East Coast college graduate, but I think you grew up in the Livermore, East Bay. So you've seen everything from the Fresno teams up to here to the Bay Area. We got some rocking and rolling high school sports. That's why we dig it. That's why we tackle these topics and subjects. And this area has always been good. It's always been strong. And I think I added it up a month or so ago. I think we have literally have added this Sacramento region in 35 years has added about 30 schools. And you think about Franklin, Rockland, Granite Bay, Whitney, Indercom, Laguna Creek, Sheldon, Monterey Trail, Casumas Oaks. Those are just a handful of them. Pioneer up in Woodland, 12 Bridges, Wood Creek, Whitney. I mean, wow, wow. Visit Del Lago, all of them really good. So those are examples where they're not. I mean, these newer, quote, newer schools have risen to power in quick order, and we see the Sierra Foothill League teams across the baseball and softball playoffs. That's solely reflective, in all of those things. So just good to see. Glad God to be doing it. I think we're going to sign off on that note. We appreciate everybody. I certainly appreciate you two guys and your great work ethic and good stories. Jordan, you wrote a fantastic game story last week of that opener of the Jesuit Del Oro, and here their leading guy is up and he screams the ball. It just goes foul, and all the emotions, and then the coach who you got to know said, "Hey, we stuck with our pitcher." That's the fun of high school sports. It's just, could you imagine having that big lead and you feel good about it, and then the agony of it dwindling, and then the emotion of Jesuit, they're getting thumped, and they're chipping away, chipping away, chipping away, and they're right in it. They're all fired up, and then they don't win it. So that's the beauty of it, and that's the agonizing part. But it's a pleasure for us to talk about it, to cover it. We're all over social media. We're all over the internet, and we're here, there, and everywhere. So thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Give us a follow. Reach out anytime.